Welcome to the Vietnamese Poetry, Literature channel. Today we will listen to the work, Old Soldier, by author Thach Lam. Let's listen. Every evening in December, I and a friend have to go back to my hometown. When I got on the train and got off at a small station, it was almost 10 o'clock at night. We still have to go through another 7 or 8 kilometers of wilderness. The weather was bitterly cold, but the wind blew strongly. We were walking crouched down and shivering, even though we were wearing a lot of clothes, felt trousers, a loose tank top, and a raincoat on top. A wool scarf wraps around the neck and face up to the ears. The field we passed through was a fertile field. At that time there were only stubble on dry, cracked soil. The village slept quietly in the dark night without any fire left. Occasionally, on the winding road we were walking on, the dark black sesame of a longan tree appeared, emerging against the lighter black sky. The two of us walked quickly, just hoping to get home quickly. After walking a long distance, my legs felt tired. Suddenly my friend pointed forward and said, "We're almost at the restaurant. When we get here, let's rest a bit before leaving." I nodded to show my agreement. The restaurant is a small, dilapidated house that is about to fall into ruin. During the day, there is an old woman who prepares drinks to sell to people who work in the fields, but at night the old woman brings the goods back home. When we return to our hometown, we often stop there to drink a cup of fresh tea, and talk a few stories with the country people who come to rest there. Nearing the destination, I heard the rustling sound of banyan leaves blowing in the wind, a barren banyan tree, which people say has lived a long time in that area. We crouched down to enter the shop, came to the earthen platform, covered with a mat, which the saleswoman placed on it to replace chairs for customers to sit on. As soon as we sat down, we were surprised to hear from a dark corner a groan like that of a sick person. My friend asked, "Who is it?" We heard the sound of someone moving, the sound of a mat rustling. It seemed like the person sat up. Then a hoarse voice answered, followed by a few coughs. Where are you guys going now?" "We are returning to Sun." Although we heard the sound, we couldn't see anything because it was pitch dark inside the restaurant. My friend asked again, "Who's that? Why do you come out here to sleep? Are you freezing to death? If you don't have a home or a door, you have to come here, but you don't know what to do. Is your village near here? Why don't you sleep with someone in the village?" That person coughed again for a while before answering, "I live right here in Inn. But I'm poor and no one will let me sleep. And people look down on me and I don't like it either. Well, I'd rather go live with this old lady here, she's kind." That bold statement surprised us. The man asked again, "I have pipe tobacco for me, please." "Have. But there's no cigarette." "Here's the cigarette." I heard him groping in the dark. We inched closer. I put my hand in my bag to get the medicine, then said a sentence to my friend in French. "It's really cold." Immediately the man replied, "Yes, it's really cold." I asked in shock, "Do you also know Western?" "Yes, it's like knowing a few words. Before, I also served as a soldier in France." The match was struck, and there was a flash of light. I recognized an elderly man, thin and emaciated, sitting huddled on a dirt platform next to the wall. His clothes were torn, and his shoulder was covered with a rice bag that had many holes in it. Without waiting for us to ask, he hastily told stories about his background, as if pleased to be able to tell strangers about his difficult life. "Listen, teachers, I was also happy at times, but not as miserable as I am now. At that time, I was only in my 20s when I joined the army to go to the West. I lived there for 4 years and was able to cook, and I also had a wife who loved me very much. But since returning home, I've been taking care of business, so I haven't sent any news. I don't know what it's like over there." Then he told us about the life he had lived in France. When he took his wife's arm while driving to take pictures, with 300 or 400 francs in his pocket, he went to a coffee shop to drink wine and then went to a dancing club. When I followed my wife back to her hometown in Provence, we went to the fields to pick grapes, then together with the group came back to sing happily around the wine well in the middle of the village. He repeated the names of the provinces he had lived in, now distant and obscure, Toulouse, Bordeaux, the names of the small villages he had visited, Military, Saint-Étroit. Have you been to Paris? Yes, I was in Paris for 5 months. I went to see Montmartre and Bois de Boulogne. We quietly listened to him and couldn't help but laugh when we thought of the bright scenes of light in the city of Paris, and also of this soldier, now a poor enemy's countryman sitting on his knees smoking a pipe in a deserted shop in the middle of a deserted field. My friend asked, "So how come you are like this now?" Uncle Soldier sighed, as if letting out all his frustrations, then smacked his lips and replied, "It's also my luck, teachers. When I returned home, my family also had abundant buffaloes, fields, and plows. A year of worms, a few years of crop failure, floods, it's all over. A few more lawsuits due to trouble within the family, and the fortune was exhausted. Up to now, I am truly alone, without a home or door. So why don't you find a job, or ask the government for help?" Yes, I worked at the embassy for more than a year, then my sponsor returned to France. I also quit my job. From that point on, people also helped, sometimes 10 dong, sometimes a few dong. But the 2 teachers couldn't figure it out. I was coughing up blood and blinded, so I spent a lot of money on medicine. When he said that, he reached for his pipe and lit a match. I saw his face become more haggard. He finished smoking, put down the cigarette, coughed profusely for a while, then sat quietly in the dark again. We don't know what to say to comfort him, so we prepare to stand up and leave. He asked for some matches and some pipe tobacco. When the last match lit up, I saw him looking at us hesitantly, wanting to ask for money but not daring to ask. I was about to offer him a few dimes, but I hesitated to give it to him, afraid of making him feel bad. I saw him sigh softly. When I left the shop, the wind blew strongly and blew my shirt. The sky was drizzled with rain and it was freezing cold to both hands and feet. We walked in silence, thinking of that wretched former soldier, now wearing a tattered mat that wasn't enough to cover his body, lying down and remembering the times when we walked into the well-lit shop, arm in arm with his wife. On the other side of the world. Those happy memories feel so bitter to him now. With the same thought, my friend leisurely said, "He's probably dreaming of many beautiful things right now." I was quiet and didn't answer. Around us, the darkness of the late night was thick. At the end of the work, please support me with the like button and subscribe to the channel to listen to more works.